Hi all, welcome to Learn Python. In this tutorial, we will talk about keyword and positional argument in Python. Before this, I would recommend you to watch my previous tutorial on how to unpack using asterisk operation, star and double star. So I assume that you already have understanding of how to unpack using star and double star. Now we talk about the important concept. Whenever we talk about functions in Python, these concepts are really important and beginners usually get confused with star, args, double star, kwargs, what are these things and why these things are important. So let's start our discussion. I have also mentioned all key points here in the beginning of this notebook, which I'll be sharing with you so that you can refer to the points in case you get confused at some later point of time. So let's start our discussion. First of all, we have discussed in our first video on function that a function can take one or more than one parameters, and we can even set default values to some of the parameters or maybe to all of the parameters, right? And that time also we have seen that if we are defining a function, this is func1 and it is taking two parameters a and b. And what I am trying to do, I am trying to set default value to the parameter a, and the function basically return a plus b, the total of these two numbers. But when I run this function, I get this error, and the error says non-default argument follows the default argument. And that time also we have discussed that if we want to give default value to a parameter, that parameter should be written afterwards, means the parameters with no default value should be written first, then the parameters with default value should be written. So I should write it like this: b comma a equal to 3, then this function will not throw any error. And definitely I can call this function by passing on one parameter or maybe two parameters. So for example, if I am passing one parameter here, so it is taking the value of b as 7 and it is giving me the sum a plus b where a is equal to 3, so I should get 10. And definitely I can pass two values here. So if I pass 5, it will update a to be 5 and it will give me 7 plus 5, which is 12. This thing we have already discussed in our first tutorial on function. Now there are names to these parameters. When we say that there is no default value to this parameter, this becomes the positional argument. B here is the positional argument and A here is the keyword argument. Why? Because in A we have key and value pair. So A is the key and its value is already defined. So key value pair, if you heard of, so it is a key value pair. So we call this keyword argument and we call this positional argument. So this is just the terminology. I hope there is no issue till that we have in a function positional argument and keyword argument, and we understand that in the function definition positional argument should come first and keyword argument should come later, right? So this thing is clear. Before we move ahead, allow me to clarify one more terminology here. Many times we hear the word parameters and many times we hear the word argument. So what are the differences? Usually these two words are used interchangeably, but the basically difference is when we are writing a function and we are writing some input parameters here, we call them parameters. Here a and b are parameters, but when we call the function, for example we are calling the function here and we are passing some values, so these values are known as arguments. So these are basically the same things, but this is the terminology difference. If somebody asks you what is the difference between parameter and argument, so a and b are parameter of that function and the values which we are passing are the arguments which we are giving to the function. Many times unknowingly we use these things interchangeably. So parameter argument is clear, default value is clear, positional and keyword argument is clear, and we need to have a specific order. Keyword argument should come later after positional argument. So this thing is clear. Let me just clear all the outputs here so that we can run the command here in front of you. I am avoiding typing in front of you just to save the time of this tutorial recording. So let's first understand what are args and what are kwargs, args and kwargs in Python, right? First of all, when we say args, we use prefix star, and when we say kwargs, we use double star. So here star args are nothing but the positional argument. Okay, I made a typo here. It is positional argument, and kwargs are keyword argument, right? So what I am doing here is I am writing a function function name is func2. This function takes these parameters. I will talk about what are star args, what are double star kwargs, and what this function does is it simply prints args and kwargs. Means what are these things? It will print those things. And just to make it clear to us so that we understand and we don't get confused, I have added this string here, that positional arguments are this and keyword argument are this. So this is a simple function which just print and tells us that yes, these are the keyword argument, these are the positional argument, right? I hope there is no problem. It is just a function which prints something for us to make us understand these things, right? What I am doing in this function is I am passing on few arguments. So I am passing 32, 56, c equal to 23, d equal to 12. Notice that in this function we have not defined a, b, c, d parameters because we have defined args and kwargs, which automatically allows us to enter as many inputs as we want to enter. So we are entering these many inputs as of now, and let's see what happens when I run this code. So we see that positional argument are 32 and 56. How does Python know? Because these two arguments are just the values. These are not key value pair, right? So Python takes them as positional argument, and Python has printed these argument for us. And this string, because we have given this string, that's why Python has printed that positional arguments are this. You can write any other string if you want to, it will print that as it is. Even if you write text 1, it will print text 1, right? So basically Python is taking 32 and 56 as args, which are positional argument. Fine. And Python is taking these two values, c equal to 23 and d equal to 12 here as keyword argument, right? So it is printing these are the keyword argument. Kwargs, kw for keyword and args for argument, right? And one more difference you can notice here is when it is printing these args, means the positional argument, it is putting them inside these parentheses. If you are aware already, this is nothing but the tuple. We will talk about Python data structure in a separate video. So Python is putting the positional argument inside a tuple. It is similar to list. We will talk about that later. So Python is just making a collection of all those positional argument and putting them inside a tuple, right? And when we are asking for keyword argument, Python is putting them inside curly braces, and curly braces represent dictionary. So Python is putting them inside the dictionary. If you are not aware about what are set, list, tuple and dictionary, you need to watch the data structure video. I will be uploading soon the videos on that also. But basically it is key value pair where c is the key, colon 23 is the value, d is the key, colon 12 is the value. So this was one example in which we got key value pair. Now suppose I add something else also. Suppose I say e equal to 67, and if I rerun the code, it will add e67 in the keyword argument because it is again a key value pair, right? How it is writing, where it is colon, why it is like this, we will talk about that in data structure. You will have more understanding that how we write a dictionary, how we write a tuple. But at least for now you are having an understanding that whenever it is key value pair, it is keyword argument. Whenever it is just a name or a number, it is putting them in positional argument. For example, if I add more numbers here, it is putting them in positional argument. And even I can have here some string, hi. So it will put that in positional argument, right? So I hope this thing is clear. Now if we write a function which takes some input and we want to give those inputs in the form of dictionary or tuple or list or something like that, can we use this type of code? For example, what I have done here is, this is my list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. List means we will be using square bracket, and inside that we can put a collection of different data points. So this is a list, I have given it a name ls, ls for list. And this is a dictionary, I have given it a name dict. So dictionary we write in curly braces, we use colon, key value pair. So for key name should be in quotation marks, and colon, here is the value for that key. So a equal to 10, b equal to 20. These are the key value pair. Now if I call func2, with these inputs ls and dictionary. Func2 is the function which we have just used, this function, right? So what I am expecting is it should print the positional argument and it should print the keyword argument, and I think you are also expecting at this time point is that it will print 1 2 3 4 5 as positional argument, and it will print a equal to 10, b equal to 28 as keyword argument, but it does not. See the output. What it is doing is it is taking 1 2 3 4 5 this list as a positional argument. It is also taking this dictionary as a positional argument, and it is saying that keyword argument is empty dictionary, there is nothing in keyword argument. Why this is the thing? Because when we are printing this function, we are just saying take these two input ls and dictionary. We are never defining that this is the keyword argument, this is the positional argument, right? So by default Python takes all the arguments as positional argument. If we want to tell Python that dic is my keyword argument, we need to use double asterisk before dic, right? We need to tell this is the positional argument, this is the keyword argument. So we need to use asterisk before defining here. So we need to use here, I am showing you here, func2 star ls double star dict. So now Python understand that ls is the positional argument and the dict represent the keyword argument. And see what happens. Now it is saying that positional argument are 1 2 3 4 5 and keyword argument are this. Now you might be having a confusion if you are watching the video carefully and if you are taking care of the output, if you are paying more attention of the output. Here we are getting positional argument again inside the parenthesis, means it is a tuple, right? But when we were doing this, we were getting the output inside the parenthesis, that is fine, but inside that we had these elements in a list. 1 2 3 4 5 were in a list. Here 1 2 3 4 5 were not in a list. Why? Because here we are using star, and star unpacks the element of the list, which we have talked in the previous tutorial, that when we use a star before a list, it unpacks all the items and it gives us all those items in scattered format. That's why we are not seeing here the square bracket. I hope these things are not confusing you. If it is confusing for you, just pause the video, do it once again with your hand and you will be able to understand. For example, what I do when I try to understand a new topic and I find it confusing, I just write that code and I do my own experiment. I want to see what happens if I do this, what happens if I do this, and that time I get many doubts, and when I clear those doubts, I understand the concept really well, right? For example, the func2 function which prints args and kwargs for us. Here I have called func2 function on ls and dic, and I have seen that the output for this was a tuple. So I have mentioned the comments here. It is also important when you are writing the code, you write all the comments very well, so that when you are referring that code again, you don't forget what you have done that time. If you are a beginner, make sure you add a lot of comments. We will also talk about docstring in a function, but you need to write the code which is well commented, well documented, all the headings are there, all the note points are there, and definitely if you are using Colab, you can organize your code like this so that you can go to that particular code chunk. So now let me talk about if we use func2 on ls only, right? What I am doing here is I have commented this line. So I am just calling func2 on ls. ls is this list. So I will be getting the positional argument inside a tuple, but it is not unpacked, right? It is inside the square bracket because I have not used star ls. If I use a star ls, I will see the elements separated or unpacked. So there is no list, there is no square bracket. I can see the elements as it is, right? So just do all these experiment yourself and see what happens. If you do it for dictionary, what happens, and so on. It becomes really easy when we use a star and double star in function parameters, because then Python automatically takes as many inputs as we are giving. For example, this is the same func2 function which I am calling. The same ls which we have created, I think the list was having these elements 1 2 3 4 5, so we are using the same list here, but I have also created a tuple here and I have given it a name tpl. So TPL is a tuple which takes the element 10, 20, 30. It is very similar to list. Just for now, if you don't understand the difference, just for now assume it is another list. So this is my list, this is my tuple, and if I call func2 on ls and tuple, star ls and star tuple, so what it will do? Pause, think. What it will do is, it will take ls as the first parameter, because I am saying star ls, so it will unpack the elements. So it will unpack means the elements would be outside the list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And similarly, when I am saying star tuple, it will unpack the elements of the tuple 10, 20, 30. So now it has got all those elements merged together, right? And it will take all those elements as the input of func2. So definitely these all inputs will be positional arguments. So let's run this and you will be able to see positional arguments are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 30. So there is no distinction that this is coming from a list or this is coming from a tuple, because we have unpacked already and we are getting just one single tuple which contains all these elements. And definitely there are no keyword argument because we have never used double star here. And let's see, if I just try to use double star here, what happens? Can we use that? Think about that. We cannot use that because tuple are having elements. Tuple does not contain key and value pair. And I am saying Python that you take it as key value pair, so it will throw an error. Func2 argument after double star must be a mapping, not a tuple. So Python is saying you clearly that you are saying take tuple as keyword argument, but it is not possible because keyword argument should be a mapping, should be a dictionary format, right? So that's why you can explore and you can see what happens if you do different combinations which are not feasible. Now let me show you one more thing, that you can also merge individual elements with the unpacked elements from any iterable list or tuple or anything, and you can call the function on that. And as of now we are just calling func2, which is printing for us the positional and keyword argument. So let's see, when we run this, we get positional argument 12, 23, because these we have defined. Then all those elements which were there in list unpacked now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then all those elements which were in tuple unpacked. So 10, 20, 30. So these are all positional arguments, and of course there is no keyword argument which we have supplied to it. So I hope these things are making sense to you. Similarly, as we have done here for positional argument, we can also do same thing for keyword argument, means we can merge keyword arguments. For example, if I have defined another dictionary, this is my dictionary dict1. In this, these are the key value pair. First key is name, colon, and then value is Nisha. Second key is topic, value is Python. I am teaching you Python. Third key is videos, how many videos I am planning to put in the particular playlist. Suppose the value is 20, right? So this is a dictionary which I have created, and I am calling func2 on double star dict1. So dict we have already defined earlier. This is dict dictionary which takes a equal to 10 and b equal to 20. And another dictionary which we have created is here. So if I call, I will be getting no positional argument. You see, positional arguments are empty here. And keyword argument we are getting A is 10, B is 20, name is Nisha, topic is this, videos are this, right? So we are able to merge all the dictionary argument. And as we have seen in the case of positional argument, we can even supply more keyword argument here. For example, I am supplying one more keyword argument. Experience is equal to 11. So it will add that also, and it will give me the keyword argument. Notice that here we are not using colon. Here we can just use equal to sign. When we are defining dictionary, we need to use colon, right? So let's run this. Experience 11, A 10, B 20, name Nisha, topic Python, and videos 20, right? So we are getting all those things, and we can use it inside a function if we want to do some computation. So here we have just understand what are the positional and keyword argument and how we can merge them, how we can unpack. Now let's see one example when it becomes useful. When are the situation when we want to use args and kwargs? If for the beginner you are finding these things confusing, but if you will start using, you will see that it's really a powerful thing to learn. these concepts of Python. Now we have talked about this function earlier. This function adds two numbers. If I take func1 a, b, it will add two numbers. So I need to supply two inputs and it will add those two numbers. If I want to add three numbers, definitely I need to change the function. I need to make a function a, b, c, which takes three parameters and it returns the sum of three numbers and so on. But if I want to add the numbers without having any restriction on how many inputs I am providing, I can use star arg. How we can do that? So here we have written a new function def. The function name is addNum. You can give any function name, that's not an issue. Now here I am not saying a or b or c or any particular list or any fixed number of parameters. Here I am saying take star args. So take star args means it will take positional arguments, no matter how many positional arguments I am supplying, right? What I am doing in this function, I am initializing a variable result is equal to 0. So initially I am creating a variable result and it takes the value 0. Fine. Now for I in args, so here I am writing in for loop. For each value in arg, you know for loop. If you don't know for loop, you can watch my previous video on that. So it will take all values of r, it will iterate for all values of r, and what it is doing inside that, it is doing this thing, result plus equal to I. It means result equal to result plus I. So it will add or it will update the value of result by adding I to it. Initially result is 0. Now whatever is I, it will add that I to that value of result, right? And finally when you do this multiple times, so it will keep on updating the value of result, and finally it is returning the value of result. So whatever result you are getting, it is returning that. I hope you understand the difference between print and return. You can experiment, change here to print and see what happens. So now I can call this function for any number of arguments. For example, if I just call this function without supplying any argument, it is giving us 0 because it is going to this function, it is working on this line result equal to 0. Okay. For I in args, because there are no arguments given, so it is not going inside the loop, it is just returning result which is 0, and we are able to print the result which is 0, right? Now if I supply two numbers here, so what I should get here, I will be able to see the sum 1 plus 2 equal to 3, because it is doing this calculation again. Result is 0, first element which is 1, it is updating the result, so it is 0 plus 1, 1. Again it will go to the next element because we are running the for loop. So next element of arg is 2. So it is now doing the updation again 1 plus 2. It is updating the value of result. It becomes 3 and we are able to see 3 here because it is returning 3 and we are printing that. So we can do it for as many inputs as we want and we will be able to see the sum. So I am doing it for first 10 numbers and I am able to see the number 55. So whenever we want to do, suppose you want to do multiplication of numbers, this can be useful when you are writing a function for factorial. So factorial 5, 10, whatever you want to do, you can use this logic here. Definitely there are other ways also, recursion and so on, that we will study later, but this becomes useful in that position, right? And because we have already seen that inside a function we can use the parameters without star or double star, we can also use star and double star to specify these are positional and keyword argument, right? So here we see one more example. This is a new function func3. In that there are two parameters a and b. So definitely it has to take at least two parameters, right? If you call this function without any parameters or with one parameter, it will throw an error because it has to take a and b, because no default values are given here and it is taking these parameters. And now I am defining star args. So it can also take positional arguments if you are supplying some positional argument to it, right? What this function does is, first of all, it is printing the sum of first two numbers is a plus b. So it will add the two numbers which you have supplied, first two numbers, it will add those and it will print the sum of those numbers. Then I am just copying the code which we have done earlier, result equal to 0 for I in args, result plus equal to I, and printing sum of all numbers is. Sum of all numbers means I want to sum all the numbers which I am supplying. So I am doing a plus b plus result, means the sum of numbers in the positional argument thing, right? And if I call this function, what happens is, if I am calling it for 2, 3, 4. So first of all, it is printing sum of first two numbers, which is 5, because 2 plus 3 is 5. Then it is going here for args. There is one more entry here, which is 4. So for that element 4, it is doing result is 4, and now it is printing this sum of all numbers is a plus b plus 4. So it becomes 5 plus 4, which is 9. So we are able to see this output. And definitely I can add as many inputs I want to, and I will be able to see the sum. So sum of first two numbers always remains the same because first two numbers are same, but sum of all numbers can change if you are adding different entries. So that was all about args and kwargs. It's time for a quick summary. So in this tutorial, we have talked about positional and keyword argument. So let's first understand that if there is a function named func1, it can take so many parameters or arguments here, it can perform some task and it can return something or it can print something. This is the structure of the function, right? Now we have some inputs here, suppose A, B, C. These are the three inputs. These are known as positional arguments. If we define some default value to the inputs, for example, I define C equal to 9, it becomes keyword argument there, right? So whenever you give default value to a parameter, it becomes keyword argument for that function. And we need to make sure whenever we are giving default value, that particular parameter should come in the last. First of all, we should have the parameters with no default value, then we should have parameters with the default value, right? So positional argument should come first, keyword argument should come second. This is clear, right? Second thing is, positional arguments are by conventions represented by star args. Args for argument, and there is a asterisk before that. And for keyword argument, we use double asterisk and we say kwargs. Kw for keyword and args again for argument. So these are my positional argument, this is my keyword argument. And if I want to specify in a function that these are the keyword or positional argument, I need to use these things, right? So I can use a function func1 or whatever, and here if I say star args double star kwargs and I call this function, so it will take whatever is here as positional argument, it will take whatever is here as keyword argument. So in the tutorial we have seen, we have written a function which prints the positional and keyword argument. So you can refer to that example and you can see for different parameters what are the positional argument, what are the keywords argument. And whenever it prints the keyword argument, it prints them in tuple. If you don't know about tuple yet, you can skip this info as of now. And the keyword argument are obviously key value pair. So it should be in the form of a dictionary or a mapping. So it should be something like that, key value pair. Next, what we have talked about is that in a function you can even merge different inputs, and if you are using star and double star prefix, because it is unpacking those iterables or mappings, it becomes easy to merge those when you are calling the function. For example, this is a simple function that just prints the positional argument and keyword argument. And how it understands these are args, because we have defined here with this single asterisk, right? And this is kwargs, means keyword argument with double asterisk. So if I create a list here or a tuple here, for example, this is my list 1, 2, 3, and I also create a tuple here which is 10, 20, 30, something like that. I also have created some set here which is 11, 22, something like that. I have also used the range function. I hope you are familiar with that. Range of suppose 10. So it will take numbers 0 up to 9. So whatever iterable I am using, if I call this function func2 and I use star ls, so it will take all the elements of this list ls, unpack them and do whatever calculation we are asking it to do. As of now in this function we are just printing, but whatever computation we want to do it, it will take all those elements in that computation. We are adding, we are multiplying, or we are doing something else, it will do that, right? And if I am using star tp also, so what it will do, it will merge the elements of these two iterables. It will work on 1, 2, 3, 10, 20, 30, these 6 arguments, right? And whatever we are asking it to do, it will do. As of now we are printing it, so it will print all those 6 arguments inside a tuple. And we can also use a set here, so I can use, I should not give the name set because these are the standard names, but suppose I give the name like set1, so it can do set1. And if I define star x, so I am giving all these inputs. Writing this is equivalent to writing that I am calling func2, it is func2, taking all these arguments 1, 2, 3, 10, 20, 30, and then from the set 1 it is 11, 22, and from the range it is 0, 1, 2 up to 9. So it is taking all these arguments and doing the operation whatever we have defined inside the function. So instead of writing these arguments, we can have different iterables and we can merge those iterables together with a single asterisk mark here. And similarly, for keyword argument, we can use double asterisk mark and it will work in the same fashion. So it becomes really very handy to do these kind of computation. And let me make one more thing clear here, that whenever you are using positional and keyword argument like this, it is not at all necessary that you use these names args and kwargs. You can use any name, you can even say name, you can even say whatever you want to do, data, detail, whatever you want to do, and it will work, because only this thing is important, that you use a star and double star to unpack those elements. Otherwise you can give any name, it's not important. It's just the convention that in Python by convention we use args and kwargs, but you should know the concept. You can use any names, which we have seen in the code file also. We had used different names. And these points are also written here. Thank you for watching.